All right, this is part three. I have 37 minutes left on my phone. So I'll babble on for a good, I don't know. I'm only reading 5 pages, so I can babble on for a good 10, 15 minutes. And then for the remaining 17 minutes, whatever it is, I'll read 5 pages of Lord of the Rings. And then you're on the chapter, interesting chapter, which is Tom Bombadil, which is a very interesting chapter. And then once I finish this video, I will take a shower, I will cash my check, I will go to the store, and I will get a beer, 6 beers. I could get 12 beers, but I don't want to get drunk. I'll get drunk while I pay this fee because I know I'm going to be king. And once I sit my 40 goodbyes, I'm going to get drunk a lot, obviously. During those 40 days, I'm going to get drunk because I know I'm about to make my billions. I'm going to see my beautiful wife. And me and my wife are gonna start that Sky Source Entertainment company, man. You're looking at the biggest one brand in the entertainment business. So even though my company's independent from Hollywood, it's a bigger company than Hollywood. There's no such thing. Hollywood is the best of the best. No companies are bigger than the Hollywood companies, obviously, except for SkySource. SkySource is the only company that's independent from Hollywood that's bigger than all the Hollywood companies that's willing to pay the actors their millions of dollars, more money than even what Hollywood even can pay. That's why my company will be so boss, man. SkySource will be, even though SkySource is independent from Hollywood, it's bigger than all those Hollywood companies. As on average, I'm paying all these actors more money than even Hollywood. The only difference is I'm paying you in Canadian, so you have the rates. But if my company was in America, I'd even compete with Hollywood even more because I'm now paying the actors in American. And so I'm paying you your American dollar, and so they're going to make you more money. But even though I'm paying them in Canadian, I'm still paying them more money than Hollywood on average. So I'm still paying them a shitload of money, obviously. So if you pay an actor $10 million, that's like 8 million, 8.3 million American. That's still a shitload of money, as most ASs don't even make 8 million for a movie in Hollywood. Most of them get like 3, 4 million for a movie. 5 million. If you get 5 million, 6 million for a movie, that's considered like a big contract in Hollywood. That's me paying you, even if I pay you 9 million, and after taxes it's like $7 million. After with the race it's like $7 million. That's still a lot of money. That's a fucking big contract. As most actors in Hollywood don't even make that. Because Hollywood is cheap to wear actors. There's exceptions where some actors make a shitload of money and they get a piece of roles in Hollywood. There's exceptions, obviously, but in most cases, only like a small percentage bargain for a lot of money, whereas everyone else they get way less. That's how it works. A small group of actors can bargain for a lot of money, and the smaller percentage they make way less. They get like 3 million for a movie, man, which is still a lot of money either way, right? I pay you a shitload of money. I also give you a $250 royalty checks for all the releases. Whereas in Hollywood, most actors don't even get a dime for. Hollywood actors don't get a dime for any release or anything like that, man. When they release special editions, all that stuff, the actors don't get any money for that. The actors get their flat salary, and that's it, man. Right. Whereas for my company, I'm willing to pay you a reoccurring $250,000 royalty check every time I re-release the movie that you're in, which is a nice fucking paycheck, man. That's like $100,000 in your bank after taxes, the rates, and your agent. It's a nice paycheck, obviously. $100,000 is nice, man. And that's how much those actors in Lord of the Rings got for a fucking role of the movie. And that's how much I'm willing to pay you for a re-release. That's how much. And I'm willing to pay you $250,000 royalty check for the posters, for the poster sales, which is nice, obviously. Only the actors who are featured. So what I'll do is I'll tell the photographers I want 6 posters of all the major actors featured in all. I want all the major actors featured on all the posters, obviously. So I can do a thing where they have I can do a thing where they have like one poster with just me and my wife, but the other ones I want all the other actors featured in it, obviously. And the actors get their royalty check for being featured on the poster, which is nice, obviously. So I'm going to pay you $250,000 for being featured on the poster, which is nice. So the actors are getting paid for the shoots pretty much. So whatever the actors get together for the poster shoots, the actors know that they're getting paid for those poster shoots, obviously. Only the poster shoots. That's it, man. Only the posters, and that's it. They're not getting a piece of royalties for anything else. As I'm being very generous, giving you a $250,000 royalty check for being featured on a poster. That's fucking nice, man. It's a nice royalty check. Hence why they're all going to work harder for me is in Hollywood they don't even get that. They get Hollywood they get a flat salary and that's it, man. The actors don't get shit. Some actors can negotiate for a piece of the back end, but in most cases they get like a flat salary and that's it, man. That's how it works. That's how it works, and that's how it works. Because a lot of these actors are very big, some of them can negotiate for a bit of the back end, obviously. But for my movie, because they're not the main show, none of them are worth a piece of me and Weiss royalties. I'm going to keep saying that. No one in this world is worth me and Weiss royalties. No one is worth. Because you're not the son of God and you didn't create this universe, you are not worth my royalties. Because that's how big I am. Because I'm the son of God and I created the universe, I'm so big that even the gatekeepers are what? Even the gatekeepers are small compared to me. Because they didn't create this universe. Yeah, you may own a financial system. You may own a financial system in the whole world, but I created the whole universe. Hence what? Hence nobody's worth my royalties. See what I'm saying here? Just like I'm not worth, just like I'm technically speaking not worth their royalties. They won't let me make money through their system. What makes you think I'm gonna let you take my money when you won't even let me make money through your system? So you see the double standards. You won't let me make money through your system. You locked all the doors on me completely. I don't want Ivan touching my money. And all of a sudden, when I write my own book and I put my best friends and into my book, you all of a sudden think that you have the right to take my money also. So you see the double standards. I'm not gonna, as no one is worth a piece of my royalties. Nobody in this world is worth a piece of my royalties. I'm gonna be very strict on that. Nobody in this world is worth me my royalties. I'm gonna be very strict on that. That you get paid. There's a saying: you get paid for what you're worth in this world, man. You get paid for what you're worth in this world. I'll babble on for a good, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then I'll read 5 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll read up to page 165. And I'll stop, and I'll continue the read along tomorrow of Tom Bombadil, In the House of Tom Bombadil. After I make this video, I will go to the store, and I will get what? I'll take a shower, get a beer, and get a pack of smokes. And then come back and enjoy the show, man. So going back to the directors, there's a good high chance I'm going to hire either Mel Gibson or Peter. But something tells me Mel Gibson's the right man for the job. But who knows? Maybe Peter Jackson might be hired too. I don't know. Those two guys, if they're chosen, they're gonna have to compete hard for the job, man. I'm gonna ask them. When I mean compete, these guys are really, really gonna compete. As it's a dream. It's a dream to direct an Ivan movie, especially the best story ever told, Last of Us. Once you read my book, these directors are gonna want to direct my movie so bad, man. Because you're looking at an amazing story, even better than Lord of the Rings. Hence why these directors are really, really gonna compete for the job, obviously. They want that free $40 million, obviously. As in Hollywood, they make $30 million, obviously. They want to be saved. They want to experience success and fame with Ivan VJ. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, they directing an Ivan movie is fucking cool. Especially directing the best story ever told is fucking cool. Once they read my book, they're gonna drool over my book, and they're gonna want to get this. They're gonna want to get their hands on my story, man. Hence why Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are really, really. You're gonna see it in the documentary. You're going to see how hard they're really, really going to be competing for the job, man. They're going to really, really compete for the job, man. I'll have Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson fight for the job, man. They're going to have to compete. I'm going to ask them all these questions. Okay, what is your idea for this? You know what I'm saying? Whoever comes up with a better answer, that's the director who will be hiring, man. And something tells me Mel Gibson's the right man for the job. Something really tells me. But something also tells me I should direct it myself, too, though. That's the thing, though, man. There's something that's telling me I should direct it myself, too. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens, man. You guys already know what decision I'm going to make. You already know if I'm going to hire a director or if I'm going to direct it myself. You can see the future. You already know. Whatever choice I make, that's the choice I make, obviously. And Peter Jackson will Gibson, if they're hired, they're going to be saved for 4.5 years. And hence why if they're hired, after filming is completed, whoever's chosen, if they're chosen, if one of those guys are chosen, they're also going to beg their ass off me right to be signed. Anyway, Ivan, please, man, I had a blast. I want to work for you. Your company's so much better than Hollywood. I can't stand Hollywood. Hollywood serves me shitty food during production. I get flown commercial. You know what I'm saying? Hollywood does fly some people sometimes probably. But I get flown commercial. Your company's so much better than Hollywood. I know what it feels like to be free, to make millions and feel free, which is an amazing feeling. There's nothing better than making free millions, man. Making free millions is an amazing feeling because you have your freedom, man. You made a lot of money and you also have freedom. You're free. And you make clean money, which is a good feeling. Whereas in Hollywood, even though they make a lot of money, that money's dirty. It came out of price. It's dirty money. And the money feels a bit tainted and then cursed, and it's like cursed, tainted money. Even though I have a lot of money, I'm a bit miserable because I paid a price to make this money. Whereas for Ivan's company, we made our clean millions, our clean free millions, which is a good feeling. And they also have freedom, which is an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling to be rich and have freedom, as you're getting the best of both worlds. When you're rich and free, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're rich, we're very rich, which is nice. It's nice to have a lot of money. At the same time, you have freedom, which is an amazing feeling. You're not owned by someone else, and you're not a dirty slave. Hence why my Scorsese company will be the best brand there is, because it's the only company in the world whereby I'm willing to pay you, whereby it's willing to pay you free millions. As no company in the world pays people free millions, because you have to pay a price to make your millions as well. That's how it works. No company in the world pays people free millions. You have to pay a price for that, man. You got to do it, man. That's how it works. As there's nothing free in this world, except for Ivan Amara's company. I'm the only businessman around the world who's willing to pay people their free millions because I'm a clean business person. I'm not dirty. I'm a clean business person. I'm not a fan of dirty business. And there's nothing worse than being fucking rich and being a dirty businessman. If you want these actors to work hard for you and you want these actors to respect you, there's nothing worse than being a dirty fucking businessman. You make someone pay a price to make his millions. I'm not a fan of that dirty stuff. I'm a clean businessman. I'm saying, look, man, I'm willing to pay your millions. If Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are hired, I'm going to tell them, look, man, I'm willing to pay you your free $40 million. I'm willing to spoil you and give you perks. You get your $3,500 gas card, you get your perks, you get your luxury buffet, you get your limo driver taking you for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. You got to stay in a nice hotel. I'll give you your perks. I'll give you your freedom. I'll pay you your freedom for $4 million. All I ask is that you work your ass off for me and you deliver the best performance you can for me, man. I'm also going to tell Peter Jackson, Mel Gibson, look, man, I'm paying you your $40 million. All I ask is that you deliver the best directing performance you can for me for my movie, obviously. I'm willing to give you your freedom. I'm willing to pay your free millions. All I ask is that you deliver the best performance for me on the what? For my movie. And they obviously will because I gave them their freedom. These directors are going to work even harder for me than what they do in Hollywood. Because in Hollywood, they don't have freedom. In Hollywood, they're dirty slaves. Right? And because in Hollywood, they're dirty slaves, yeah, they still work hard because it's not conscious. Because they're dirty slaves, they're not free, they're not going to work as hard. Whereas if you give these actors their freedom, you give these directors their freedom, like Mel Gibson or Peter Jackson, they're going to work even double harder for me because I gave them their freedom. It's this amazing feeling to have money and be free, man. It's a fucking amazing feeling, man. It's such an amazing feeling that some of these, I guarantee you, a lot of these actors, some of them might even sob and cry after film is completed. Even Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, some of them might even sob or cry after filming is completed. Some of them might even sob or cry because they know what? They know in Hollywood they're never going to make free millions. As there's no such thing as being free and rich in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you're rich and you're a dirty slave. You did dirty shit to make that money. In other words, even though you made all those millions are dirty. It's dirty millions. It feels like cursed, tainted money. Because you did dirty shit to make that money and it came at a price. Yeah, I have all this money, but this money came at a price. It came with a curse. It came at a cursed price, yeah. Where for Ivan, the money that I made was clean money, it was clean free millions. It's an amazing feeling to make clean money and to be free. Yeah, man. It's an amazing feeling to make clean millions and to be free. And there's nothing worse than making millions and there's nothing worse than making dirty millions, man. Having that money come at a price, it sucks. But I told you, even though these Hollywood celebrities are dirty slaves, they're not free, because they have a lot of money and they're famous, they're still living a decent life for themselves. So even though you're not free and you're a dirty slave, they're still living a decent life because they have some money in the bank. But I told you, because they're not free and they're dirty slaves, chances are a lot of them are a bit miserable because, what, they don't have freedom, man. So even though you have a lot of money, you're a bit miserable because you're not free. You don't have freedom. You're a dirty slave. You're owned by someone else, man, which is not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling to feel owned by someone else, man. It's a horrific feeling, man. It's a horrific feeling to be owned by someone else, man. It's not a good feeling. Hence why I'm paying this fee to get my freedom and to be rich. And hence why I'm not going to be a dirty businessman. I'm going to be a clean businessman. I'll grant you your free millions, Hollywood actors. And I'll grant, if I choose to hire a director for Zanus, whoever it is, Mel Gibson or Peter Jackson, I will grant them their freedom. That way what? That way they get their what? That way they get their freedom, and they also make their millions too, obviously. And none of them are getting a piece of my royalties. I know Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are very greedy people. Because they're really, really big-ass directors, and they're worth a lot of money, they're going to try and get a piece of royalties. But look, man, you're not getting a piece of my royalties. You're not worth it. you may make a lot of money in Hollywood, but for my movie, you're not worth my royalties. Even though you're directing my movie and you're executive producing my movie, you are not worth my royalties. I'm gonna tell them that. You're not worth my royalties. And the photographers I want to hire, I want the ones who worked. I'll babble on for a little longer, and I'll start reading. The photographers I want on board, I'll hire the ones who took pictures for the magazine companies, for the models. The ones who took pictures for Kendall Jenner's Vogue magazine, as Kendall Jenner is ranked one of the top models in the world. You can hire those photographers to take pictures for your company, obviously. So photographers will be responsible for the ad shoots featured on the website, the ones featured on the billboard in front of my office. They're responsible for the ad shoots, the business ad shoots with the 17, the actors, as well as the training ad shoots with the actors, as well as the weekly character ad shoots with the actors, the fourth year. They're responsible for taking the red carpet pictures. Only the red carpet pictures. I don't want them taking any pictures for the party. No. I want the photographers partying up with everyone else. But I want them taking pictures for the red carpet, and those pictures will be featured on the website. Obviously, nice pictures. They're responsible for the posters, pictures for the posters, as well as the 4K Blu-ray case covers. They're responsible for all those pictures. And I'm willing to pay them a nice $3,000 for the what? I'm willing to pay the photographers a nice $350,000 for the pictures. For the pictures, obviously. And the web designer, I want the one who worked for one of the big five companies. So this is to code an amazing website, for a top-notch website for UI SkySource company. And I also want to hire two graphic designers to edit the pictures. So edit the ad shoot pictures featured on the website, edit the 4K Blu-ray case cover pictures, edit the posters, the background. You have to edit all that, obviously, as well as edit the pictures for the posters, obviously, and the 4K Blu-ray case covers. Hire the best of the best, that way you get unheard of quality for your company, and that's why SkySource will be the best brand in the world. And the head chefs, I want the head chefs to be Canadian. To qualify, you have to own a restaurant. You have to own a restaurant to qualify for the head chef position, obviously. There's a good chance I'm going to hire Eric. Eric Chong will be one of my head chefs. I'll give him a call. I remember seeing him on MasterChef Canada. Very talented. He won the show. He owns a restaurant R&D in Toronto with one of the judges on the show. Obviously, yeah, you walk up promoting your restaurant out there. He's a good candidate for my head chef, obviously. If he is hired, he'll be saved for like 40 plus years. And I'm willing to pay him a nice $400,000 for the term of the movie, and he gets a $12,000 raise for every movie project. And if he's hired, he'll be saved. And he's a lucky one, obviously. It's not guaranteed I'm going to hire Eric Chung. I'm going to hire someone else. There's a high chance I'm going to give that guy a call, and the high chance I'm going to give that guy a call, and I'll have him be one of my head chefs for my company, man. And that's why you're looking at top high-end food for my company, because I'm actually hiring like good chefs to cook the food. I'm not hiring some line cook who works at sandwich shops. No, I'm hiring actual good chefs, man. That's why SkySource will be the best man in the entertainment business. At 20 minutes after my phone, I'll stop babbling on. And hence why VJ is so proud of me. It's because of me you get to live this amazing life. I saved your fucking ass. Hence what? Hence you're fucking lucky as you get to see me and you get to live this amazing life with your husband, obviously. Now, enough of me babbling on. I will read 5 pages of Chapter 7, which is In the House of Tom Bombadil. You have to excuse the noise. You might hear some noise upstairs because my stepfather listens to some Christian music. Obviously. So this is Chapter 7, In the House of Tom Bombadil. Obviously, right? So Frodo and them are choking describes a rough journey through the forest. The forest is enchanted. They fall asleep. Merry and Pippin are trapped within the trees, and Tom Bombadil's singing, and they hear him sing. Frodo and Sam ask him for help. Tom Bombadil talks to the trees, and Frodo and Merry and Pippin are rescued from the trees. And now Frodo and them are entering Tom Bombadil's house. They're going to Tom Bombadil's house in the Withywindle, right, in the forest. Right. So, In the House of Tom Bombadil, Chapter 7. The 4 hobbits stepped over the wide stone threshold and stood still, blinking. They were in a long, low room filled with light of lamps swinging from the beams of the roof, and on a table of dark polished wood stood many candles, tall and yellow, burning brightly. In a chair at the far side of the room, facing the outer door, sat a woman. Her long yellow hair, this is Goldberry, right? Her long yellow hair dribbled down her shoulders. Her gown was green as young reeds, shot with silver like breads of dew, and her belt was of gold, shaped like a chain of flag lilies, set with the pale blue eyes of forget-me-nots. About her feet, in wide vessels of green and brown earthenware, white water lilies were floating, so that she seemed to be enthroned in the midst of a pool. "Enter, good guest," she said. As she spoke, they knew that it was her clear voice that they heard singing. They came a few timid steps further into the room, and began to bow low, feeling strangely surprised and awkward, like folk that knocking at a cottage door to beg for a drink of water had been answered by a fair young elf queen, clad in living flowers. Before they could say anything, she sprang lightly up and over the lily balls, and ran laughing towards them. And as she ran, her gown rustled softly like the wind in the flowering borders of a river. Come, dear folks, she said, taking Frodo by the hand. Laugh and be merry. I am Goldberry, daughter of the river. Yeah, she's a daughter. Goldberry is a daughter of Tom Bombadil. Right? Then lightly she passed them, and closing the door, she turned her back to it, with her white arms spread out across. Let us shut out the night, she said, for you are still afraid, perhaps of mist and tree shadows and deep water and untamed things. Fear nothing, for tonight you are under the roof of Tom Bombadil. Obviously. So my theory is Tom Bombadil has some connection with the forest, obviously. Because four of them are a bit afraid of the moving trees, and her daughter was like, fear not, you're at Tom Bombadil's house. And as long as you're with Tom Bombadil, everything will be okay within the forest, because Tom Bombadil has some connection to the forest, obviously. He can talk to the trees, he calls them old willows and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? The hobbits looked at her in wonder, and she looked at each of them and smiled. Fair Lady Goldberry, said Frodo at last, feeling his heart moved with joy that he did not understand. He stood as he had at times stood enchanted by fair elven voices, but the spell that was now laid upon him was different. Less keen and softly was its delight, but deeper and nearer to mortal heart, marvelous and yet not strange. Fair Lady Goldberry, he said again, now the joy that was hidden in the songs we heard is made plain to me. O slender as a willow wand, O clever than clear water, O reed by living pool, fair river daughter, O springtime and summertime and spring again after, O wind on the waterfall, and the leaves' laughter. Suddenly he stopped and slammered, overcome with surprise to hear himself saying such things. But Goldberry laughed. Welcome, she said. I had not heard that folk of the Shire were so sweet-tongued, but I see that you are an elf friend. The light in your eyes and the ring in your voice tells it. This is a merry meeting. Sit now and wait for the master of the house. He will not be long. He's tending your tired beasts. The hobbit sat down gladly in low rush-seated chairs, while Goldberry busied herself about the table, right? And their eyes followed her, for the slender grace of her movement filled them with quite delight. From somewhere behind the house came the sound of singing. Tom Bombadil sings a lot, right? Every now and again they caught among many a Derry doll and a merry doll, and a ring-a-ding-a-dillo the repeated words. Old Tom Bombadil is a merry fellow. Bright blue his jacket is, and his boots are yellow. So Tom Bombadil likes rhyming when he sings, right? Fair lady, said Frodo again, after a while, tell me, if my asking does not seem foolish, who is Tom Bombadil? He is, said Goldberry, staying her swift movements and smiling. Frodo looked at her questioningly. He is, as you have seen him, she said in answer to his look. He is the master of the wood, water, and hill, obviously. Yeah, so Tom Bombadil has some connection to the forest, obviously. Because she says he is the master of the wood, water, and hill, obviously. Because when Mary and Pippin were trapped within the trees, Tom Bombadil talked to the trees, and the trees let them go, obviously. So Tom Bombadil has some connection to the forest, obviously. To nature around where he lives, obviously, right? That's my theory. I may be wrong. To all you Lord of the Rings fans, do not get angry with me. I might be wrong, okay? So don't hate on me if I'm wrong, okay? Frodo looked at her questionably. He is, as you have seen him, she said in answer to his look. He is the master of the wood, water, and hill. Then all this strange land belongs to him. No, indeed, she answered, and her smile faded. That would indeed be a burden, she added in a low voice, as if to herself. The trees and the grasses and all things growing or living in the land belonging each to themselves. Tom Bombadil is the master. No one has ever caught old Tom walking in the forest, wading in the water, leaping on the hilltops under light and shadow. He has no fear. Tom Bombadil is master. A door opened in and came Tom Bombadil. He had now no hat, and his thick brown hair was crowned with autumn leaves. He laughed and going to Goldberry, took her hand. Here's my pretty lady, he said. Yeah, so Goldberry is beautiful, obviously, right? Like I said earlier, a beautiful woman, obviously. Here's my pretty lady, he said, bowing to the hobbits. Here's my Goldberry, clothed all in the silver green with flowers in her girdle. Is a table laden. I see yellow cream and honeycomb, and white bread and butter, milk, cheese, and green herbs and ripe berries gathered. Is that enough for us? Is the supper ready? It is, said Goldberry, but the guests perhaps are not. Tom clapped his hands and cried, Tom, Tom, your guests are tired, and you had near forgotten. Come now, my merry friends, and Tom will refresh you. You shall clean grimy hands and wash your weary faces. Cast off your muddy cloaks and comb out your tangles. He opened the door, and they followed him down the short passage and around a sharp turn. They came to a little room with a sloping roof, a penthouse it seemed, built onto the north end of the house. Its walls were of clean stone, but they were mostly covered with green hanging mats and yellow curtains. The floor was flagged and strewn with fresh green rushes. There were 4 deep mattresses, each piled with white blankets, lay on the floor along one side. Against the opposite wall was a long bench laden with wide earthenware. 2 more pages and I'll end my read along here. I'll do 5 pages for now because I don't feel like reading like 10 pages. It's too much. Because you guys prefer when I babble on, obviously, right? So after 2 pages, I'll end it here, obviously. Basins, and beside it stood brown ewer filled with water, some cold, some steaming hot. There were soft green slippers set ready beside each bed. Before long, washed and refreshed, the hobbits were seated at the table, 2 on each side, while at the other end sat Goldberry and the master. It was a long and merry meal, though the hobbits ate as only famished hobbits can eat. There was no lack, so they're eating at his house now, right? The drink in their drinking bowls seemed to be clear, cold water, yet it went to their hearts like wine and set free their voices. The guests became suddenly aware that they were singing merrily, as if it was easier and more natural than talking. At last, Tom and Goldberry rose and cleared the table swiftly. The guests were commanded to sit quiet and were set in chairs, each with a footstool to his tired feet. There was a fire in the wide hearth before them, and it was burning with a sweet smell, as if it were built of applewood. When everything was set order, all the lights in the room were put out, except one lamp and a pair of candles at each end of the chimney shelf. Then Goldberry came and stood before them, holding a candle, and she wished them a good night and deep sleep. So 4 of them go to his house. They meet Goldberry, his daughter, I believe. They eat dinner, and now they're going to bed, obviously, right? Have peace now, she said, until the morning. Heed no nightly noises, for nothing passes door and window here, save moonlight and star at the window of the hilltop. Good night. She passed out of the room with a glimmer and a rustle. The sound of her footsteps was like a stream falling gently away downhill over cool stones in the quiet of night. Tom sat on a wall beside them in silence, while each of them tried to muster the courage to ask one of the many questions he had meant to ask at supper. Sleep gathered on their eyelids. At last Frodo spoke. Did you hear me calling, master, or was it chance that brought you at that moment? Tom stirred like a man shaken out of a pleasant dream. Eh, what? said he. Did I hear you calling? Nay, I did not hear. I was busy singing. Because Tom Bombadil likes to sing, obviously. Just chance brought me then. Obviously, right? I was busy singing. Just chance brought me then. If chance you call it, it was no plan of mine. Though I was waiting for you, we heard news of you, and learned that you were wandering. We guessed you'd come here ere long down to the water. All path led that way, down to Withywindle. Old Grey Willow Man, he's a mighty singer, and it's hard for little folk to escape his cunning mazes. But Tom had an errand there that he dared not hinder. Tom needed as if his sleep was taking him again. But he went on went on in a soft singing voice. Here goes the annoying songs again, right? I had an errand there gathering water lilies, green leaves and lilies white to please my pretty lady, the last ere of the year's end to keep them from the winter. To flower by her pretty field till the snows are melted. Each year at summer's end I go to find them for her, in a wide pool, deep and clear, far down, Withywindle, where they are open first in the spring, and there they linger latest. By that pool long ago I found the river daughter, fair young Goldberry singing in the rushes. Sweet was her singing then, and her heart was beating. He opened his eyes and looked at them with a sudden glint of blue. And that proved well for you, for now I shall no longer go down deep again along the forest water, and not while the year is old, nor shall I be passing Old Man Willow's house. So sorry. Before I said he calls the forest Old Man Willow, I made a mistake there. He just likes saying Old Man Willow, right? But Tom Bombadil can obviously talk to the trees because the trees let go of what Merry and Pippin obviously. So Tom Bombadil has a connection to the forest, to nature around where he lives and all that stuff, right? For now I shall no longer go down deep again along the forest water, not while the year is old, nor shall I be passing Old Man Willow's house this side of the springtime. Not till merry spring, when the river daughter dances down the withy path to bathe in the water. He fell silent again, but Frodo could not help asking one more question, the one he most desired to have answered. Tell us, master, he said, about the Willow Man. What is he? I have never heard of him before. No, don't, said Merry and Pippin together, sitting suddenly upright. Not now, not until the morning, obviously. So Frodo wants to know about the Willow Man, obviously, because Tom Bombadil keeps mentioning the Willow Man when he sings. And Frodo wants to know about the Willow Man. He wants to know about Tom and all that stuff. So that ends my read along for today. So pretty much, you get Frodo and them going to Tom Bombadil's house. They meet Goldberry. They find out that she's a river daughter, or whatever. She's a daughter of Tom Bombadil, I believe. I may be mistaken. So bear with me, Lord Rings fans. She's beautiful, obviously, right? She tells him that Tom Bombadil is the master of the forest. You got nothing to worry about because Tom Bombadil is the master, pretty much. Tom Bombadil has a connection with the forest, obviously. They have dinner at his house. They go to bed, and now Frodo's asking Tom Bombadil all these questions about who he is, the forest, and he's asking who's Willow Man, all that stuff. Because Tom Bombadil, when he sings, he always mentions Old Willow and all that stuff. So Frodo's curious, and Pippin and Merry is saying, "Not now. Wait until the morning." You know what I'm saying, and that pretty much sums up what I read for chapter what for chapter 7, and I'll continue another 5 pages tomorrow. You're looking at a very interesting video for that. I'll show my account here.